Hola, algebra students. Welcome to today's lesson on review of function notation. There is something new, sí va a haber algo nuevo in the lesson, but most of it is review. La mayoría de lo que les voy a enseñar hoy, ya les enseñé. Okay, so um, things to remember about function notation. Cositas que necesitan acordarse de function notation. Ordered pairs. Okay, so los puntos. Remember, ordered pairs is just a fancy word for points. Instead of being written as x comma y, they become f of x equals y. But that's only for functions, okay? So los puntos en vez de ser x, y, se escriben en f de x igual a y. Ecuaciones en vez de tener y, right? Y igual a so the equations, instead of having y equals, van a tener f of x, they're going to have f of x equals. All right, so again, remember, most of the stuff in this lesson we've learned already. Acuérdense que la mayoría de lo que vamos a repasar ya lo han visto, okay? All right, so quick reminder, what I just mentioned up here, lo que dije aquí, que los puntos, the points, instead of written x comma y, you write them as f of x equals y. Okay, so los puntos en vez de ser x igual a y, se escriben fx igual a y. So what this means, for example 1, where it says evaluate the function for the given domain values. Remember that domain has to do with x values. El domain tiene que ver con los valores de x. Okay. Quieren significa que nos han dado, they've given us the domain values. Okay. So the value here is an x value. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the x-axis. You're going to look for a value of -1. And you're going to kind of follow it until, so imagínense la línea aquí que pasa por el valor de x igual a -1, right? Follow that line until it hits the function. So it hits it right here. That ordered pair, ese par ordenado es negativo 1, 1. So that ordered pair is -1, 1. Now they gave you the x, you have to give them the y. So the value of y is 1. Okay, let's do another one. So again, they have given you the number in the parentheses that is an x value. So you're going to look in the x-axis, you're going to look for 3. And you can see it hits right here at this ordered pair. That ordered pair is 3, 0. They gave you the x of 3, you need to give them the y. So acuérdense, ellos te dieron el valor de x, tú estás dándoles el valor de y que corresponde. Su pareja, its partner. Does it sound familiar, guys? ¿Reconocen esto? Let's keep going. Okay, so here they gave me a value of 0. So I'm going to look at the x-axis. Here's 0. And it looks like se ve que está pegando like entre 1 y 2. So we're going to say that ordered pair is 0, comma, el número entre 1 y 2, the number between 1 and 2 is 1.5. So here I'm going to say that the answer is 1.5. That's the y value. Okay, why don't you go ahead and try the next one. Find the value of n of 2. Okay, so if you follow this line until you hit the function, this ordered pair is 2, comma, -3. So the value is -3. All right, so hopefully that looked familiar. Espero que reconocieron la mayoría de esto, okay? All right. Also, one thing that we've studied before already is how to evaluate a function for given domain values, okay? No, nunca las instrucciones or the directions didn't say that exactly. So that's something new. What they used to just say is evaluate the function. So anteriormente las instrucciones nada más decían evalúa la función. But now we're reviewing and focusing on domain. So remember, domain are x values. Okay, so esta pregunta, this question, we studied it already, okay, in chapter 2, in unidad 2. So again, quick reminder, if they give you the number in the parentheses, that is the x value. So you're going to take your equation, van a tomar su ecuación y reemplazar cada x. So look, there's an x here and here. Van a reemplazar todas las x con el valor de negativo 6. You're going to replace them with a negative 6. Okay. And then you pretty much can just put all this in your calculator. I know some of you like to do it without a calculator. Just make sure you check your answer. So, pueden poner esta parte de un jalón en su calculadora. Un tercio. Solo estoy haciendo ahorita yo. So 1/3 times parentheses. Those parentheses are so important. Negative 6 squared. And then plus 11. Okay, so your answer should be 23. So the way that we would write the answers, just a quick review, the way we used to write our answers is they gave me f of negative 6, and now we know the answer is 23. And that's your answer. Okay, so that one we've studied before. Eso ya lo hemos visto. Pero take a look at this next one. So this next one says find the range values. So here's the directions. Find the range values. Acuérdense que range tiene que ver con valores de y, has to do with y values. So we have to find the y values that accompany the domain values. So they're giving us domain values. Those are x values, right? And you can kind of see right here, boop. But do you see that there's 3? 1, 2, 3. So that means we have to use substitution 3 times. Lo que significa es que tenemos que usar sustitución 3 veces. So I'm going to go ahead and take my equation and I'm going to substitute each of those x values one at a time. Okay? So lo tengo que hacer 3 veces. Okay? Substitute 3 times. Because they gave you 3 x values. And notice that the x is the exponent, okay? So the x is the exponent, so we're going to be substituting the x as an exponent in our calculator, okay? Okay, so the first x value they wanted me to plug in is negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my calculator. Lo pueden hacer esto de un jalón o lo pueden hacer paso por paso. So 3 times 1/4 to the power of, a la potencia de, negativo 1. Okay, so go ahead and put this in your calculator. What do you got? Okay, you should have gotten 12. Okay? If you didn't get 12, make sure you raise your hand and ask for help, okay? If you're watching this in class. Okay. The next one is 0, so we're going to plug in 0. So if you remember the rap song that I taught you, if the exponent is 0, the base turns into 1. So 1/4 a la potencia de 0, that turns to 1, and 3 times 1 is 3. So hopefully you don't need a calculator for that. And then last but not least, we're going to substitute a 2. So again, I'm going to put this in my calculator. Okay, 3 times parentheses 1/4, close parentheses, quantity squared. Okay, so you're going to get a funky decimal, but it could actually be written as a fraction. So yo lo voy a escribir como fracción. Van a ver que les sale un decimal. ¿ok? Pero prefiero yo fracciones siempre. A menos que estamos hablando de dinero o estamos haciendo gráficas. Like if we're talking about money or making graphs, then you should be using decimals. But we're not talking about money and we're not graphing, so I prefer fractions. Okay, now just so you guys know, this is technically written, this is the only thing that's new in this lesson. Esto es lo único que es like nuevo de esta lección. Porque if you focus on how they gave us the domain, do you see how they wrote it with D equals X? And then they listed the values, nos dieron el domain, y nos pidieron el range. Do you remember that? They asked us for the range. So the way you write your answer is you say the range equals, okay? So that's new. We didn't do that in chapter 2. Esto es nuevo, no lo hicimos en capítulo 2. So you're going to say the range is the y values que corresponden that in order of how we found them. 12 and how they gave us the x value. Tienen que escribirlos en orden como coordinan con sus valores de x. 3 and 316. Actually, now that I say that, you don't have to write them in that order. You should be writing them from smallest to biggest. Oopsies. So deben de escribirlos de menor a mayor. Sorry. Oops. No necesitan escribirlos como corresponden. Domain and range should always be written from smallest to biggest. Domain y range, los valores siempre deben de estar escritos de menor a mayor. So it actually should be 3/16 because remember, the decimal was like 0.1875. So acuérdense que este era el más chiquito porque era un decimal chiquito, and then 3, and then 12. So that's the only thing that's really new this time. Okay. And then, do you recognize these? ¿Se acuerdan de estos? Les daba, I used to give you guys 3 functions. Les daba 3 funciones. Y ustedes, you guys had to either add, subtract, or multiply them. Tenían que sumar, restar, o multiplicar, just depending on what the problem asked. So this is just, again, review from chapter 2. Okay? Esto lo estudiamos en capítulo 2. All right, so as I take a look at this first one, they're asking me to take g of x and subtract f of x. So these are just like the names, okay? Estos son como los nombres. We're not going to use those. We're going to use what they equal, okay? So when I set this up, I'm going to use parentheses and I'm going to substitute what I know. So voy a meter los valores. So g of x vale x cuadrada, right? Oops. Minus 7x plus 1. And f of x is 8 minus 2x plus 3x squared. So in subtraction, the first polynomial just has a 1 in front, so you're just going to distribute a 1, but everything stays the same. Cuando multiplicas por uno, right? When you multiply by 1, everything stays the same. However, this has a -1, so when you multiply something by -1, all the signs change. So the positive 8 becomes a -8, the -2 becomes a +2, and the 3 becomes a -3. And then don't forget to include the variables. And then we just combine like terms. Okay, so what should the final answer be? What do you think? Okay, 1x squared minus 3x squared is -2x squared. -7 plus 2x, -7x plus 2x is -5x, and 1 minus 8 is -7, and that's your final answer. Okay, for this next one, do you see how they have numbers in front? So that means those are like coefficients. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in front of the functions before I substitute the functions. So g of x, we've used that one in the previous example. And then f of x, we also used that one already. And so this one, we just distribute a -3 here and a +2 here. Okay, so take a minute and distribute that. Pause the video. This is your chance to pause the video. Try it by yourself. Y póngale pausa al video, háganlo ustedes y luego pueden empezarlo de nuevo ya que acaben. All right, hopefully you didn't cheat and you're not just copying everything and you actually tried it by yourself. Espero que no hicieron trampa y de verdad pusieron pausa al video. Okay, and then we just combine like terms like we did in the other one. Okay, so -3x plus 6x is going to be 3x squared. 21x minus 4, 17x. Y luego, and then -3 plus 16 is 13. Okay, last but not least, h of x times g of x. So this little dot means multiply. And when we did this, we would just put the parentheses like back to back for the two polynomials. So in the first one, I'm going to put -5x plus 9. And in the second one, I'm going to put f of x. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but this actually took a little bit more effort when you're multiplying polynomials because you actually have to distribute both of these pieces to everything on the other side. So I'm going to start multiplying one by one, okay? So -5x times 8 is -40x, okay? Then I've got -5x times -2x. Remember when we multiply variables, we add the exponents. So this is going to be positive 10x squared. And then this one is going to be -5x times 3x squared. So I'm just going to write it over here. -5x is to the first power. We're multiplying it 3x squared. So you're going to multiply the coefficients and then you add the exponents. Okay, so this is going to be -15x cubed. I'm going to run out of space. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing here. So 9 times 8 is 72. No variable. 9 times -2x is -18x. I'm going to just start writing it like this. Hee hee. Okay, -18x, and then 9 times 3x squared is 27x squared. Ay, ay, ay. Sorry, guys. Okay, the highest exponent is going to be the 15x cubed. Y es el único, so -15x cubed. But take a minute and pause the video and combine all the like terms. Okay, so you should have 10x squared plus 27x squared is 37x squared. -40x minus 18 is -58x, and then 72. All right, guys, have a great day. Let us know if you need help. Adios.